Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Developer Dynasty stream here at Wolverine Studios. We've got a big night here. I'm glad to be back as today we start our road to the tournament with Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2024 as we kick off FirstAccess. And, hey, it's been a long time since we did a stream. We've really been focused a lot on the development of our games as we end our 2024 cycle here with college basketball 2024, and it's time to get back to this sort of thing. And once we get college basketball out officially, hopefully we can pick up the streaming again and start to do more stuff for our Twitch channel and our YouTube channel, but really been focused on getting this done. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen tonight. We're going to do this stream here. I'm going to show you some of the new things and kind of play through a little bit of college basketball 2024. And then when the stream is over, give us a couple minutes and we'll start turning everything on in the web store at wolverinestudios.com. That is the only place that you can pre-order the game and participate in FirstAccess. So once the stream is done, give me a couple minutes. We'll get everything turned on there, and then you can pre-order, and you should be able to download the latest beta here and get going tonight. I encourage you, if you're interested in participating in the pre-order, to take advantage of it right away. It's not going to be a very long FirstAccess period at all, hopefully. Hold on, we've got spammers here already. Okay, let's get going. So as you can see from the main menu, we've got pretty much a similar look as before. I'm going to start this up. And also I want to let you know that you guys can post questions you have in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them since this is everybody's first look at the game. If you are the kind of person who likes to wait, try it out for yourself. There will be, of course, a free demo available once we get into the full release. The free demo always comes after FirstAccess, but if you are planning on participating in FirstAccess, you will be able to do so tonight at wolverinestudios.com. The code to save 10% for anybody, public code, is CBFIRST, CB First. You use that code at checkout, and you'll save 10% for pre-ordering. So let's take a look at the new dashboard here. It's got not much as you open up the first day of the year, which always starts on May 1st in the game, and it is the budgeting stage. But you see a different look to things for sure. At the top section, you have all of your team's information. So I've got the staff, I've got my roster page. We've tried to add some new things like the scholarship breakdown here on the roster page, just new views of items so that you kind of have some more information at a glance. Going back to that staff screen for a second, there's help for you if you don't kind of understand what things mean. If you're new to the game, plenty of help things throughout the game to to let you in on things. You'll see at the bottom there is a ticker now. Nothing's going on. Of course, it's the first day of the year, but during the year, the ticker will be full of scores and news and stuff, and you can click on any of those things in the ticker, and you'll pull up the box scores or pull up the player card. One other big change is this teams link up here at the top left. This is how you will navigate around the different teams now. You can see they're all in order alphabetically, or you can check a specific conference you want to find the team that you want to switch to, and then you'll be able to switch to any team you want. That replaces that old kind of clunky drop down on the left side. And at any time, you can click on your team logo on the left side and go back to your team. And the ticker is customizable. If you go to the game options, there is a ticker display option. So during the course of the season, if you don't want to see all the scores, if you're only interested in your conference or the conference in the top 25, you can change that here. And of course, you can change so many things in this game, including all of the teams and stuff like that. Anything you want to edit, it's available to you to edit. And of course, I've been in talk with NCAA Hoops, our super forum member who is responsible for the college mods. Always, he's been working very hard on that, and and is ready to get that out very shortly to everybody too. And you can use that when that's available. You can use that with the FirstAccess. You'll also notice for some of the people who have been asking about this for a long time, there is a back button again, and it is functional. So in the past, we had a back button that functioned for some people, didn't function for others. I never knew why it didn't. It always worked fine on my end. But now that back button is up there in the top of the team area, and you can you can use that to move back. So let's start taking a look around. The first thing you do is set your budget for the year. So let's take a look at that. We have here at Central Michigan Eagles, we have 162,500 as our budget. We're expected to spend 35,000 of that on our facilities. Our facilities grade is a C plus, and there is help up there to let you know kind of what we're doing here. You can always click that AI suggest button. That'll give you a quick kind of breakdown. The AI is only suggesting to spend 29,500. If you spend less than you're expected, your facilities could drop because you're not putting enough into them. But since we're spending 98,000 on our coaching staff, if we spend 29.5, that leaves us 35,000 for recruiting. I'm going to play it safe here. I don't want our school facilities to drop. Let's see if we do this. We can clear it, and we'll just drop this one down to 12,000. So we've got 29,500 left for recruiting if we do this. And of course, what these items do, the same as in last year, the training, the money spent here helps your players maintain or improve their athleticism and will help them to improve their skills on the court. The amenities, this is the bling we talked about before. You bring recruits to campus, you show them all kinds of cool stuff with your fancy, facilities and amenities and all that kind of stuff. And the wellness is to keep your players happy and healthy. So we are going to do that. There's an advanced button up here. We tried to change the button too so that it's green so that it's time, click there to go. So we're going to advance there. We're going to spend our 35,000, and we are on to the summer travel stage. Of course, this is where you go to do your recruiting visits. You'll notice as I pull up this screen, it tells you which region you're in, and that's color coded to a regional camp at the bottom. It gives you instructions and some help as well. There is a new camp here that you can see, a new national camp called the JUCO Jamboree. This is in accordance with the other 3 national camps that exist, so you can only still attend one of those national camps. But there's always that group of schools that really is not ready to spend money on going to a national camp to look at the top recruits because none of them are coming there. So for a smaller school or a mid-level school, maybe you want to pick off some of the JUCOs. This is a great way to do it because now if you go to the JUCO Jamboree, you get all the information on all the JUCO players right out of the gate. So if that's kind of your style, this is a way to do it. You still have the other regional camps, so it's going to suggest I actually attend the JUCO Jamboree, and it's going to suggest I attend the Chicago Prep Review. That will cost me $6,200 of my budget that's left, and I think that's a pretty good plan. We don't probably need a ton of money spending here at Central Michigan. We're not going to have a very large reach, so we're going to do that. And while this is advancing and taking a minute, I'm going to take some of the quotes here. General Manager Games, which is cards, by the way. And if you guys don't know, I always try to shout out the CBGM on here. That is an amazing online league. So if you're looking for an online league for college basketball, join the CBGM. He says, do you think we'll ever add anything similar for the internationals? Maybe. The JUCO was suggested to me by a user on X, Twitter, and I thought that was a really cool idea, so we decided to bring that in. But yeah, maybe down the line we could do something for an international camp as well. Of course, that would have to cost a lot more, but it's not a bad idea for the future. So you see now we have advanced to June 26th, which means recruiting is open, as you can see at the bottom. You'll be able to see your recruiting class rank, 169th right now, which is just nothing because nobody's done anything. 3 available scholarships, and we've got 25K left. If you click on the view recruits, you'll be able to see who you signed during the year. So a lot of these things will have either something you can click on. So if you click on where it says first in conference, you click on that, it'll take you to the standings page. So we tried to make a lot of things. When you see that little finger cursor come up, we try to make a lot of things clickable and a lot of things for you to be able to go find easily. If you miss the player cards from this dashboard screen, don't worry about that. Just scroll down here to the bottom left where it says view team, and you can click on that and your player cards will be back there. So if you'd like to see all those guys at a glance, that's still there. Let's see. Blaze asks about new changes to recruiting. Some, and we'll talk about that here for a second. One of the biggest things here is the league media section is now set right into 3 areas. So if you click polls and media, you're going to get, of course, during the year, there'll be information here once we get started, the polls and stuff like that. And the magazines still exist, but this new one is kind of a cool thing to talk about. This is the NXT Hoops in-game website. So last year, when we got rid of the recruiting guides, we put in this fictional NXT Hoops recruiting service. So now it's got its own website dedicated to itself in the game. So you can check their top 50. You can check their top ones in every region just by clicking on these boxes. And of course, during the year, this is the first ranking, so the top guy moved up 150 spots. But you'll be able to see all of the spots as they move up and down here, the whole list. You can click on the names and pull up player cards, do recruiting from there if you like. We're trying to make this UI like where you can find everything everywhere. That's kind of the goal, just to make it so you always can get to what you need without having too many clicks. So that is new as a part of recruiting. If we go down to the recruit players screen, you always get the default help message when you start it up. We've kind of reorganized the screen a little bit. Same kind of basic ideas. If you see this question mark, you can always click on that. That'll give you a lot of help. You can look at, the map of where each region, kind of falls into. You can look on your team needs and info. This will tell you, again, just like it does on the roster page, what your breakdown is by, by position, by year. So all of that is there. If you click on the dates, it will explain to you again what each period is for those of you who may have forgotten and what you can do there. You've got your budget, you've got your number of scholarships, you've got your your call list that you can populate, all of the different recruit pools. You can view by anything you want. If we're going to view just the state of Michigan, we can do that. The interest here, this is new as well on the recruiting. It's said cool and hot before, or warm. What we've done is we've shaded these differently now. So you'll see like a darker blue version of cool, as well as a lighter one, which will mean that you're in the top 5. So you don't have to, if you want to look through quickly and see which ones are lighter, you'll see that you'll be in the top 5. This one is a darker blue, so we are not expected to be in his top 5. But that will be another help for you at a glance. Recruiting, you could spend days talking about recruiting here. I will not, just because we're going to try to cover a lot here. So just so things happen, I'm going to turn on the CPU managing things for me. And default to simulating human games as well. So let's advance a week of recruiting. We'll get some information up here. Cards ask, are the warm and hot also shaded like that? Yep. So the warm and hot will be shaded as well. As you see, we've now moved into an evaluation period, which means we can call, we can contact, we can watch game film, we can host a recruit, we can watch the recruit in live games. Another change that has come along with recruiting is that we're giving you more information. So on this recruits notes, once that populates, and I'm just going to click through while I'm talking here so we can advance a little bit. We've varied the responses now. So in the past, the responses were there was only so many responses. We've tried to add a lot more so that you get a lot more variety in stuff like that. And that's been a number of the changes that we've made. There's been big additions to the game, and there's also been ones that you wouldn't put in a press release, but when you find them in the game, you're going to be like, wow, that's really cool, that's really helpful. I'm so glad they thought about that. Things that you don't see as a feature, but they exist, and it's going to make life better. One of those areas, I'm going to switch it back to the dashboard here. One of those areas is in the assistant coaches. So while I kind of simulate through here and get some information into our league, we've done a lot of work on assistant coaches. One of them is we've given them the ability to be able to accumulate pipeline stats. So if they are your recruiting assistant, and you can find that out by going to the coach assignments page, you still assign one to be your recruiting assistant. They will start to accumulate pipeline stats. They will also have more impact in recruiting. So who you choose as your assistants will be even more important. We've made younger assistant coaches in the game have a higher potential. And we've also made assistants willing to jump a little bit more often to new jobs. So all of this, again, this is nothing that you're going to see as an outward feature, but all of this leads to having coaches who are better poised as you move through your career to take over new jobs and to be good coaches when they get those jobs, because they've already got some pipeline stats built up from recruiting, and they have a higher potential and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a big factor in your long-term sims, that you will have those coaches becoming better and replacing good coaches as they leave. And again, if you go through your emails here, they have different you'll get different responses on their home visits, and you'll figure that out kind of as time goes on, what's like a super positive, what's kind of a positive. One other thing that is just a fun addition this year is when you get a My Decision email, I'll click it here and you'll see that the text is blank. So in the past, you would just read the text and see if he chose your school or not. There is an option now to just click on it and click the reveal button, which will reveal the text. And also there is a suggestion to click watch. So I'm going to click watch, and you're going to see the recruit here make his decision. So he gives a little speech, and you can see kind of his top choices. So in this case, he's considered it, and he's going to narrow it down from 5 to 1. So hopefully that C stands up there, and we turn out to be the winner. And his choice is us. He has chosen us at Central Michigan. And again, I think that's just kind of a fun thing to do. And it's, if you put a lot of time into recruiting and you really wanted to recruit, you can watch, him make his decision there. And, and there we go. We got Ben Hicks as one of our recruits. Of course, if you go to the dashboard, and you click, view recruits or whatever, you can spoil that for yourself if you want to. But if you don't want to spoil it for yourself, when you're done recruiting, there'll be a little blue pop-up that comes up in the upper right corner. And I saw it come up, but it was advancing, so it didn't actually display the message clearly. And that lets you know that a recruit has made a decision. So if you see that and you want to do the reveal, just go to your email box and then find the My Decision email. Let's take a look at our scheduling. Again, same thing as before. You can change your non-conference games if you want. Any conference games or tournament games that you were assigned, you cannot change, just like before. So we will advance there. Kev says he thinks he suggested the assistant pipeline idea. Maybe so. We always tell you that some of the best ideas come from the community. We listen when you make suggestions, and we are happy to implement ones that are really, really good. I want to go over to the roster page and show something new as well here. Just pull up any guy. You will see that there is now an extra shooting rating as well. There is the mid-range shooting rating that we introduced into pro basketball. It's always been there. It's been a behind the scenes thing. We kind of displayed it as a measure of the outside rating, but it really made sense to give it its own rating now. So you have the inside, mid-range, outside, and free throw ratings here. All right, let's keep going in our season so we can show off some of the other items here. One thing here, when you get to the practice recruit stage, of course, you're going to set up your practice plan like before. There's some help up here at the top to kind of guide you if you're not sure what you're doing. So this really hasn't changed here. But one thing that has changed is that when you finish practice and recruiting, you're going to get another update to your roster, guys. So your coaches are going to reevaluate again where players are at after the practice and recruiting stage ends right before your season. So one more chance. If you don't know how the ratings work, you always have an evaluation of your players. It is not the true rating number. It is just an evaluation of your coaches and your staff. So it's never a completely accurate version. And if teams that you haven't scouted or played, you don't see their ratings because you don't know every single player in all of college basketball, obviously. So you will get these updates throughout the year where you'll see the ratings change, and we've added a couple extra ones in. One of them is going to be, again, after the practice and recruiting stage ends. Let's see why this is going. Cards asked, did he put on the hat? No, he doesn't put on the hat. It just shows in the logo there. It was, I guess, kind of difficult to make that look good. So it just shows in the logo there. Rofar asked, does this version contain any conference moves? The default setup is matching currently what's out there. There was one less team, and because that would have caused problems with importing teams from College Basketball 23, we've just added one extra team, which is going to be coming in the future anyway. So there'll be a West Georgia team in here. So we've added that in just to make it stay at the 363 teams. But everything is set up as it is. And then if you turn on conference movement, it will work the same as it always has, where it can swap one for one. All right, we got to the season part here. You can see the ticker going now at the bottom with the top 25. If we go to our dashboard page, you've got your next opponent. You've got their top player. If you go to the play and sim page, there's some changes here as well. And one of them is you're going to see this little strip here where it has your team, no injured players, and then all these icons. Since there's no way to get back to your team pages from this screen because the top is not your team specific, that's how you do it with this. So if I'm here and I want to go to my depth chart, I can click that and it'll take me to so all the icons up here are represented down below on that strip there, so you can move again. It's just another UI thing so that you can move about things more easily. If you go to the recruits page, we've broken this. I've changed this to be better to look at. Instead of a huge scrolling thing, you can just click show offers to see what offers you have, show interest if you want to see who's interested in you. And here you can see the difference in the cools. Wade Davis has the darker cool, so he's not not very high on us. And Dominic Nelson has the lighter cool tag, and we know that we're in the top 5 there. And again, all these notes from things of that you've gotten out of your call list, or things like that in the past. Okay, so let's take a look at some and the recruiting ranks page again. This one's always fun to look at too. You can click on each team, see who they've landed, see how many 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, how many players were in the NXT 150. All this information is there. So you definitely want to take your time going around and dig this stuff out. In the almanac as well, once you have some seasons in, tons of information here. And on your school or your history page, we've added in a tab for recruiting history, which once you again get future seasons in, you'll be able to see a list of all the players that you successfully recruited. And that was requested by somebody in the community as well. And again, that was a really cool idea, I thought. So that's going to be tracked now. Let's do a little bit of simming because I want to show off some things here. So when you start the sim, you're going to see the same main sim screen area, but on the right side, it's going to track your record there, as well as the records of teams in your conference. So as you go through and you're simming, you'll have an idea all the time at where you're ranking in the conference, and you'll be able to stop the simulation, if you want to jump in and make some changes or something, or if you want to sim a full season and you walk away and you come back, you can see where you're at, see if you need to jump in. Of course, you still get the updates in the lower corner of whether you won or lost a game and who are the top performers there. But I think this addition of the record, and that all credit to the beta team guys, our college basketball internal squad, who worked so hard on this game, as is testing things out as we go along. That was an idea from them. So you'll be able to see that once you get to conference play, all of those records are going to reset and show you the conference record only, because there's only so much room there. But so early in the season, in non-conference play, you'll see their overall records, and then when you switch to the conference play, you'll see their conference records there. Let's take a look back at the dashboard so you can kind of see some information filled in here. Now you can see your team leaders, you can see your player impact estimate, any team news you'll have, we'll see there. If you go to Tourney Watch, this is another big one that I wanted to show off. This data was here before, but it used to be in the Insights tab, and I think people had a hard time finding it and didn't even realize it existed in the game. So now the Tourney Watch is front and center, and you'll be able to see all of your quadrant games here. So you'll see a tip at the top that says the games are most valuable in the first and least valuable in the fourth quadrants. So if you know how this works, you'll understand that you want to have as many high quadrant wins as possible, and you want to avoid any low quadrant losses, because it means those were good wins or bad losses, and that's how you kind of get set up for the tournament. As the season goes on, the bubble watch is here too, instead of on the media page as it was before. So you'll be able to have all of your information on one screen here for getting things ready for the tournament. And again, you see on the bottom, scores are going through. If I click on the score, the box screen will come up for that score. So you can see kind of how that ticker is useful, just for keeping up on things that are going on in the league, as well as finding information quickly. Let me do a little bit more of simming here, so we can. I won't do the whole season because it does take time to sim the season. But while we're looking at the sim a little bit, I can talk to some of the guys in the chat here. The Mallow Man, first time. Thank you for joining us. Is there any additional information on international recruits and finding diamonds in the rough? Possibly. I had a really small school team that I literally had an entire roster of international recruits a couple years in. It was so fun. Nothing's really changed on the international side. So if you're used to using that, then that hasn't changed at all, really. Pesky Pole says, can you set up a customized league with your own created conferences? The answer is yes, under certain circumstances, and not within the game. Outside of the game, if you open up the database, you can create your own custom setup. But you do need to have 363 teams, and you do need to follow conference alignments that exist. So if you wanted to, create 363 fictional teams or something, you can do that. If you want to have the teams but put them in your own conferences, as long as it's a conference structure that exists and you can denote that properly in the database, you can you can do that and then import that as your template to create a league from. So you can do any of that kind of stuff. It's not readily available, for something you can swap out in the game because it's just complicated. But if you need help with that, you can definitely ask me. You can reach out to NCAA Hoops on the forums, who is a master now at all of the database manipulation for doing his mods. And we can certainly help with that. But you can't do something like create, a 40-team league or something like that, because the game is it's too hard to do all kinds of recruiting and stuff like that for scenarios like that. So it's better if we just have kind of the one thing. There was a question too: is the class recruiting rate on the dashboard dynamic? It does change, and if as other teams get more recruits, less recruits, and like I said, you can always click on view recruits and see who you've got. Your quad records are also on the dashboard as well, so you can kind of see. We had a quad 1 loss. Let's see who that was to. Right now, apparently Northern Kentucky is a good team. That will probably change as the season goes on. And of course, you can always scroll down here too and see any other team that you want. So you can check out everybody's quad status and see, kind of where they're ranking. And like I said, once you get into February, the bubble watch comes up here, and you can look at things like that. So yes, so Pesky, if you're talking about creating the old Big East, there is a 9-team conference. I'm sure there is. There's so many conferences, I forget how many teams there are in each one, but I know there's a 9-team. That one, in fact, the what we call the Pacific Coast Conference, has a 9-team setup. So you could put the 9 teams you want in there and then stuff the other teams in other conferences that would make sense, or anything that you want, as long as they all exist somewhere and you're not trying to make like a 25-team conference or something like that. If you go to the search players screen, this is again something that is we've added in from the pro game. You've always been able to look at all the players here, but one thing we've added here is the ability to click on stats or advanced stats. So if I click on stats, and it's going to take a minute because there's a ton of players, you can pull up everybody in the league. So if you want to compare everybody and find out, who's a league leader in points for the entire league and look at it this way, you can do that rather than going to the league leaders and just seeing a certain amount of them. You can also do it by conference. So if you want to see all of the players in one conference, so Josh McIntosh from DeLand is the leader in the Eastern Sun Conference, and it's paginated because there's so many records to load, so you have to look at it like that. But again, it's another option for finding things. The league leader screen, still exists, obviously, and you can do it by conference here as well. so you can see. But again, there's a limited number of stats here, and there are not advanced stats on the screen. So if you want to see advanced stats, you can go through here. And if you look at the advanced stats tab, you can compare everybody, even in these metrics. So again, another thing that's just more data, more things for you to explore and find out. There are a couple other big changes to the game that I probably won't be able to show here because it's later in the game, but I want to talk about them at least while I do some simulating here. But first, there is a first-time chat from EnviroScientist, so thank you for joining us. One thing I've wanted info on is efficiency when running different sets and freedom on offense, different defense sets on D. Is that something you'll consider, especially on offense? It'll be good to know whether I should run more sets or more freedom based on analytics. This has been asked about before in different ways, and I like the concept of it. What is difficult is that it is an awful lot of data to track somehow, and it's a little bit difficult to do that because of so much data, because people want to say, okay, what is, how am I doing when I run the flex offense, basically? So if you're looking at each of the 10 offensive sets and the 5 different half-court defenses and 5 full-court defenses, and even if you only track something simple like, points for and against, that's a lot of data to track. It's going to have it's so far in trying to do things like that, it has not had a very nice impact on speeds of things because it's trying to capture all of that data for every play that's going on. So it's a lot of data. So right now there's not anything like that for each of the sets. It is something that I have thought about, though. I have talked about implementing in different ways. And maybe in the future it could happen. But right now it's not, nothing has changed on that front. And again, here, if you look at the strategies page, we've changed this a little bit more attractive to look at, but you can see where your team's proficiency are in each offensive and defensive set, as well as kind of how much you're using each strategy. So let me throw the sim back up here again and talk about a couple of these things. The coaching carousel that was brought up earlier. This is replacing if you're familiar with the game, the job hiring phase, where you would just kind of pick a school that you wanted to apply for if the job was open, and then you could get hired at a new school. The AI at the same time is hiring for openings, but basically in the past, for head coach hirings, it was always looking mostly at the free agent pool of coaches. So if a coach got fired, from a good team, well, he's in the pool to get signed by another good team who might have an opening due to a retirement or firing or something like that. So in prior versions, that was pretty much the focus. Now I've opened that up a lot more to the teams looking at other schools who have up and coming coaches that they might want to poach. So you're going to see a lot more movement of coaches up the ladder, head coach to head coach. So you're going to have, when you go into the hiring period, there might be a team you're interested in and it might not be available at the start. Typically that means that job would not be open then for that, that session. Now you're going to see much, much more of the coaches moving from smaller school to bigger school, or even, middle school to big school, so that other jobs might open in different rounds. So if there's one that you're hoping for, you might want to wait on it and see if for some reason that, if that school had a hot coach, he made a good run in the tournament, something like that, he's got his name out there, he might be an attractive target for another team rather than just looking out of the free agent coach pool. Same thing with the assistants. You'll see more assistants available to poach, whether it's you or seeing your assistants get poached during that assistant coach period hiring. So you're going to see a lot more activity there. So when we talk about coach carousel, That's what we're really talking about. Just seeing a lot more movement in terms of head coaches and assistant coaches. And one of the big other things too, there's two really other big sections to kind of talk about. One of them is the transfer portal, and one of them is the year-end period. So in the year-end period, what we've done is replaced the board request section. So if you recall, when you got to that period, that was the only point in the game that didn't advance from the blue, which is now a button, but it used to be a link up at the top left. That is the only, you had to go to your email and then choose your board option to advance. So that was always kind of clunky, and I don't know why I kept doing it that way for so long, but we did. Now it's a screen all onto its own where you'll still make your board selection, but in addition to that, you'll also make you'll also have an option to connect with all of your current players. So you'll see their chance of declaring for the pros, or what their percentage chance is of transferring out, and you'll have an opportunity to provide a response to them if you want to. You can do nothing and just let whatever will happen, but you also have the opportunity to offer offer something to the player. You can try to talk to him about his attitude, try to talk to him about his teammates. If it's an attitude thing, you can try to ask him to switch positions so that he might find more playing time. So there'll be a lot of options for you to to try to convince a player not to transfer. Now, in doing so, you might end up making the player more upset because he's just done with you. You might convince him to switch positions and make another player upset who's now going to lose, feel he's going to lose his spot because you're favoring this other guy, so he might end up transferring. So there's a whole lot of things that can happen from doing this. So it's a big risk reward section, and I think it's going to add a lot of fun to that end of the game stage. The other big thing that we're doing is with transfers, and I pulled up another league here so you can look at the transfer portal. In the past, it was pretty simple. We just had the kind of scout and contact option and offer scholarship option. So we've gone higher on this here with adding 2 more transfer portal sessions. So there's 10 sessions in total now, and we've given you other options now. So you're going to have, each one has a specific cost, and again, if you see the question mark, you can always click it and it will pull up information. So now you have the option to, and I'll pull that back up in a second, to scout a player, to gauge interest in a player, to do a media kit for the player, or to do a campaign for the player, and also to offer a scholarship. Offer a scholarship now is free. There's no more cost associated with that. All of these other 4 things have a cost that are associated with it. And you can see each period you get 20 scout players, 5 gauge interest, 3 media kits, and 2 campaigns that you can do. In testing, we've been able to spend quite a bit of your recruiting budget in the transfer portal. So I think this offers up another opportunity in team building, that if you want to focus on like being a portal team and kind of ignore recruiting, you can spend a lot to try to have success in the portal. And then not have very much left over for recruiting. If you want to ignore the portal and go all out on recruiting, you can do that, or some kind of mix, whatever is going to work for you. But the transfer actions that you can do, if you gauge interest, your staff's going to contact the player, let them know you're interested, and it's going to have a small impact for the player. A media kit, you're going to prepare, a presentation sort of to send to the player to try to say, hey, we want you here. You could be, you could be playing here type deal. That's going to have a medium-sized impact. And if you decide to do a campaign, that's going to be an all-out effort. Your school is going to do tweets. They're going to do, whatever they can to try to bring that player in, try to create a narrative that player is coming to the school, all that kind of thing. And it will have a big impact on his interest in coming to your school. And then there's a note that says the impact on interest is relative to the prestige of your school. So even if you're doing a campaign at a very low school, it's not going to have that big of an impact, as if a high prestige school was doing it, but it would still be more of an impact than other lower schools doing, like, just checking the interest or media kits. So this is going to be, again, another big option for you to kind of distinguish yourself in building your team and how you're using the transfer portal, how much you want to spend. Do you want to go all out on like one player and do all the actions, which you can? You can take a player and you can you can go all out on him, and you'll try to make a really strong impact there, while other teams are basically getting their inroads with all the other players. Or you can spread it out. You can do whatever you want. You can completely ignore it if you don't want to do transfers, if you want to just recruit. Whatever works for you. You have more options here, and the transfer portal is really rounding into a more complete feature in the game as it becomes a bigger and bigger part of college sports. Question from Bill Dozer: when I was talking about the year-end stuff, how is the percent of chance for determined? What it's doing is it's kind of calculating what it always has internally, and it will give you just a round number. So it'll say he's 25% chance, 50% chance, 75% chance. So the code internally knows who is likely to transfer, and then it always runs a random roll to see does he transfer or not. So it will show you'll know who's likely to transfer, and you can decide whether you want to try to do something about that or not at that point. And again, same thing with the transfer portal, more options. That's what we're all about, is more and more options for you in building your team. Again, if you go to your team history, you can see all of your all-time stuff, your season recaps. The tournament page is always fun. You can see who the old champions, the prior champions are of the tournaments. There's all kinds of this stuff in the game that you really should take the time to explore the coaching trees, all that kind of stuff. Cards. Let's see. Pesky says, if you order tonight, when does the game become available to play? And Cards is correct. It is early access tonight. So if you order, once you pre-order, once we turn everything on, it's not there yet. You got to give me a couple minutes when we're done. But if you pre-order, you'll get your license code sent to your email, and the download link page sent to your email, and then you can download, and you'll be able to start playing the betas tonight. There's a build up there ready to go. All you gotta do is pre-order and get it. First time chat, big EV240, loving the different options for transfer. Thank you. We spent a lot of time on revamping that. We didn't want to ignore the transfer portal. There was thoughts about putting even more into it with NIL and all this stuff. I think that's really going to change in the world of college sports. So we decided to hold off on that, especially since the schools technically themselves aren't the ones handing out the NIL money. It's the collectives and all that stuff. It's a big process. So that part isn't indirectly, but it's represented by your prestige and these other things that you're doing in the transfer portal. So we kind of have like a gamified way of doing that to represent that. Let's see. There's a question: how much impact on interest does scouting provide now, if any? Scouting really doesn't provide much of an impact in the transfer, because all the coaches are doing is getting you ratings. So again, if you don't know, and I did this with all the ratings on, so that's why you can see them all. But if you don't know that player, you won't have ratings on them. So if you want to use your scout to get ratings on them, so you can decide in the next round if you want to make a move for them. Offering a scholarship will give you a very, very tiny interest boost as well, because they know you're interested, you're giving them a scholarship. Let's take a couple more things here in the chat. One thing I'd like to see: when you hover over those last school abbreviations, I don't honestly know over 300 school abbreviations. So yeah, that is a good idea and something we could probably do. It's in a table, so I'm not sure how the hover would work on that, but maybe there's something we can do. I'll make a note of it to see at least if there's something we can do, because yeah, just looking at the last school, you might not, although if you click on it underneath here, when it gives you his bio, it will say, so transfer De La Salle, transfer Richmond. So you do get the school name there. All it takes is one click instead of a hover. And I love the comments. Love seeing the quality of life improvements. You know, that's again, you know, when we're trying to provide maximum value for you guys every year. So we always want new features, and new features, big things are important. But I think it's also important to take a lot of these suggestions, a lot of these comments, and really, you know, see what we can do with them in terms of making, you know, life better for you inside the game itself as well. Things that you might not, you know, recognize, you might not, you know, see off the bat as a big feature. On the school info page here, as an example, you know, we've got the awards here, so that, you know, if you click on this, you can see all the trophies, and you can see how many times you've won those trophies, and you can click the button to see, you know, when you won those trophies. Obviously this is only like 1 year in, so this team probably doesn't have any award. Oh, we got conference freshman of the year, so you can click on that and see who that freshman of the year was. So as you build a history and you're 20, 30 years in, there'll be so much data here for you to, you know, to look at and go back and, you know, relive kind of things that have happened in your career. You can spend hours just looking at the historical data in the leagues. Pesky asks if we showed the gameplay screen yet and the animation. No, nothing is drastically changed there. The animation, you know, it's the improvements from Pro have come into College. We've also made some changes on that screen. I guess let me pull it up really quick so I can show that off before we wrap it up, because I know everybody's anxious to get over there and get ordering. And I know, you know, I don't want to spend all night here, but we are going to keep the dynasties going. So, you know, do a real dynasty, a real playthrough, so that you can kind of see. But let's take a look at a play screen here. So we've changed the starting lineup screen a little bit. This happens to be a preseason tournament game, the South Beach Showcase. So one thing on here that we have changed is, you know, all this data is still the same. The speed option, there is a default speed now, and you can click on game options and go faster if the default speed isn't. There is really no reason to have like the really slow things and stuff like that we had before. So that's gone. So there's a default speed or a faster speed, or you can click the skip button, and that will just advance things more quickly. So that nothing's animating at that time. It's just kind of advancing you quickly through the game. You'll see a new look to the score bug. One other change as well is if you click this microphone button here, you can change to show yourself the play-by-play ongoing or the game cast. That was a big request from Point Guard in our community. He really wanted to see that happen, so we made that happen. And if you'd rather play it with the play-by-play going, you can see it like that. And if you'd rather have the game cast, you can do that as well. So, you know, in terms of the actual on-screen, like I said, the improvements we made in Pro have come to College. But if you had old courts, old things like that from that are modded before, you can still use them. Nothing's changed right there. So, wow, that was a lot. I covered an awful lot in almost an hour. I didn't expect to go that long, but it's really fun talking about the game. I love this is my favorite game. It's always been, even in the blog post, which if you want to read more, there's a blog post on our site from last week that talks about these things in a little bit more detail. I loved coaching basketball. I love college basketball. Um, and this is really, especially you get to this time of the year, you get on March, and it's so exciting, and you really can feel the excitement of March in this game, and I love it, and I think you guys are gonna absolutely love it too. If you love the previous versions, this one's even better. NCAA Hoops told me today, um, this is the best version ever, and it just keeps getting better. So thank you for all of your guys, your comments, your suggestions, your feedback. That makes the game better every year. I couldn't do it without all that stuff, and of course the support. um, I know there'll be a lot of pre-orders tonight, and I'll feel really really happy about that, and seeing that support of the community. But if you can do me one favor, if you have an outlet, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram, Reddit, whatever you're on, if you can tell one person, or make one post on your thing directing them to come check out this game if they love college basketball, that would mean everything to us, because that's how we're going to grow as a company. That's how we're going to get bigger. That's how we're going to get more people playing in the game, and more great suggestions to make the game even better every single year. So, thank you guys for spending an hour with me tonight. I really appreciate that. We have a lot of viewers for us. It's not a lot of viewers for some people, but a lot of viewers for us. So there's a really lot of interest, and I appreciate that. And again, if you want to play in an online league, look up the CBGM. If you go to our website, we have a featured leagues link. You can click there and find them and join. It's a great online league. You'll have so much fun. So if that's for you, do that. If you're just a solo player, have at it. You just got to give me a couple of minutes after we end the stream to kind of clean things up and to turn things on in the web store, and then get those credit cards ready, and show me the money, as they say. The web store will be open. You can use that code CB First to get 10% off. And again, I thank you so much for spending the time with me tonight. I hope you love the game as much as I do, and have as much fun with it as we have had in testing and putting together. And we will be back with more streams. I think I'll do maybe start a season, a playthrough, stuff like that, so we can have a chance to, connect in this space, which I always appreciate, and also get some content out there. So you could show somebody, hey, watch this YouTube video, watch this on Twitch, and see if you'd like this game. And hopefully we'll get some more people into our community. So thank you again, everybody, tonight. Really appreciate it. Card says Louisville's coming back to the top. If Cards can take them back, that's the only way they're coming back to the top after what's going on there right now. I'll tell you that, Cards. They need to bring some big changes there. But Cards can do it. He could bring them back to the top. I hope to see a Louisville Let's Play on YouTube, Cards. I enjoyed watching your stuff before. So let's see some of those. You guys, if you are a YouTube, a Twitch guy, and you stream, text or tweet at us on X. We will put it out there for you, so other people will come and watch your streams. We'll do everything we can to get you more viewers, and because that just helps us too, letting other people see, people have fun playing the game. So I know everybody wants me to stop talking and shut up and go turn the web store on, so that's what I'm going to do. Thank you all again for coming out tonight, and I really appreciate all the interest here for FirstAccess. And I will see you in the web store and on the forums and in our channels, social, everything. Take care, and we'll see you real soon.